This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
Buying AI tools is the easy part. Getting your employees to actually use them for anything meaningful, that's where most companies fall apart. Section's own research shows over 90% of employees only use AI for basic tasks. That's not ROI. Section coaches every employee on real, role-specific use cases, tracks who's driving AI impact, and gives you the data to prove it's working. For more, check out Section at sectionai.com. If you're like me and you're constantly on the go, on your phone, and wishing you had more of some of that AI magic that you normally have behind the computer, well, this week was a great week for you. Or if you've been really interested in OpenClaw, but for whatever reason, whether it's because of work restrictions or something else that you haven't been able to use OpenClaw because it's not secure enough, well, more great news for you. Hey, if you missed some of the AI updates this week, well, you're going to feel weeks behind because we got months of updates that didn't even necessarily grab the big headlines. Because what I've learned from covering AI over the past 3 years is, well, the past 3 months of innovation are absolutely bonkers. And what that has turned into is we get all of these great quality of life updates in between the big releases that hardly no one notices. So that's why we have started this new series called Friday Features, where we break down some of those new updates that are available for almost everyone now. And I'm going to tell you how you can start using them today. So we're going to be going over 7 fresh AI features to up your game, from remote controlled agents to AI browsers for your iPhone. Let's get straight into it and preview what we're going to be going over on today's show. So if you stick around for the next 20 or 25 minutes, you're going to learn why Google may have put itself in the lead for vibe coding in 2027 already in 2026. You're going to find out if a browser from Perplexity might take a permanent spot on your iPhone and maybe kill off your Safari use. And I'm going to tell you the smallest update in ChatGPT that no one saw that will make a huge difference if you put it to use. All right, let's get into it. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jordan. This is Everyday AI. It's an unscripted, unedited, daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders keep up and get ahead to grow their company and their career with AI. So if that's what you're trying to do, sweet. Yeah, this thing's unscripted. We do it live. All right. But it doesn't stop here. It stops, well, you can continue actually on our website at youreverydayai.com. So we're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show, as well as giving you everything else that you need to know about today's biggest developments in our free daily newsletter. All right. So before we jump in live, this is a newer segment, so I do want to explain it one more time. And, again, let me know if you all are enjoying this. I don't know if I'm going to keep it going or not, so you all have to let me know. But what I've learned is the past couple of months have been crazy. And usually there's one or two kind of big, news stories each week in the AI world. And that kind of distracts everyone from maybe what's important. And, it seems like we're really just waiting for the next big model, right? Like, oh, when is GPT 5.5 coming? When is Gemini 3.2 coming? When is Opus 4.7 coming? And literally every single day, especially from the big four, Microsoft, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google, every single day, there's big updates that everyone can take advantage of now. And it's even kind of hard to cover on our show because Monday we do the AI news that matters. And a lot of that is not necessarily hands-on features. And a lot of the most important stuff is just a little small bullet point at the end. And then on Wednesdays, we do AI at Work on Wednesdays, where we go hands-on live demo with one piece of, one new LLM or something like that. But I've realized the stuff that really moves the needle, we've been kind of ignoring it. So that's what this new Friday Features is about. Let me know if you like it. Let's dive in. So I'm going to share my screen here. Live stream audience, let me know if you got it. So we have 7 features that I think you're all going to love. All right. So first one, if you are on an iPhone, you're gonna love this one. I've been enjoying this so far. So Perplexity has launched their new Comet browser on the iPhone. So the browser itself isn't new, but it being on the iPhone is. So they just launched this, and it's based on Chromium, but it is an AI native browser to the iPhone. So it can automate tasks, research across different tabs, summarize content, and complete multi-step actions like shopping and scheduling. So if you've used Perplexity Comment on the desktop, like I do, right? I always tell you guys, oh, here's what I have going, right? Like I currently have Claude Code and Codex running. I usually always have Atlas and Comet going as well in, browsing in agent mode, doing a lot of my day-to-day kind of tasks. So it's great for that. So it's only been out now for, like 2 days, and I've been using it so far, and it's really good. There are some different tiers to it though. So who gets access to this right now? Well, it's free to download and use if you have a Perplexity account, but there are some different features. So whether you're on the Pro or the Max tier, it does unlock different features. So you don't get everything for free. Similarly, how you can use Perplexity's Comet for free if you have a Perplexity account on the desktop, but some of the more advanced agentic features are only available if you're on a paid plan. So kind of have the announcement up here from Perplexity. So I'm going to just read a little bit on what I think is kind of important here. So for me, voice mode, loving it. Perplexity actually, Comet has a great voice mode. So it is built into the new iOS app. So you can speak your questions and get a research answer without breaking your flow. They, kind of are featuring these hybrid search results. So it does give you a traditional search result page for fast, local, and high intent queries. But the Comet Assistant also easily follows, your prompts for more advanced knowledge and intelligence powered by Perplexity's answer engine. So it is kind of very similarly, if you use it on desktop, you're going to get a lot of those same features. There is that kind of built-in Perplexity. So if you're a Perplexity Power user, you're definitely going to love this on iOS. So here's why I think it's useful. Well, right now, it's the only, as far as I know, it's the only major mobile browser available on iOS. So on, if you have an Apple iPhone, it's the only one that I know of, the only mainstream one anyways, that has agentic capabilities in a browser. And that's huge, especially if you're someone like me that's always on the go, right? So Chrome did update some agentic capabilities in their Chrome browser, but nothing like this, right? It's more basic Gemini integration with Chrome, and I've been loving and using it more, right? I always have to remind myself not to use Safari. I should probably just, delete it or move it off my home screen. But now I'm probably going to be splitting my time between Chrome and now Perplexity, their new comment. So I think really anyone who's on the go, and if you're a Perplexity user, you're going to like this. So, whether that's you're a power researcher, anyone that currently switches, between if you're on, if you're trying to browse a website a lot and you're like, oh, wait, this is really long. I just need the bullet points, and you're copying and pasting that over in an app, to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or something like that. Like, this could replace a lot of that back and forth context switching because, I don't know if you're like me, I'm very slow on the phone. So this is one that I've been really enjoying. All right, let's go to our second big update. Another one that's mobile based. Y'all, we got some huge mobile updates between Perplexity Comment for iOS and the next one. Again, small feature, didn't get a lot of love. This is called Dispatch from Anthropic. And let me say this. When it works, this is one of those first like Jarvis-esque feelings. I'm like, oh, wait, whoa, this is pretty sweet, right? When it works, because again, it's new. It's only been out a few days. So it's buggy. It has been buggy for me, right? I'll just be very honest with you. If you think this is, production ready, it's not yet, but it's very promising and it is innovative for Anthropic. So here's what it is. It is called Claude Dispatch, and it works on mobile. So it's essentially a phone to desktop remote control layer for Claude Cowork, and you can, send tasks from your phone, right, and come back and, well, it's done. So you do essentially have to have a paid account. So right now it's only for, no, I think they actually just hours ago rolled out access to pro subscribers as well. So originally it was to max subscribers, so those on the $200 a month plan, but now I do believe they're starting to roll it out to pro. So, if you're on that $20 a month Claude plan, you should be getting access to this probably any hour or any day now. So you do have to sync it. So as an example, right, make sure you update if you're looking for this. A lot of people have been like, where is it? Or the sync doesn't work. That part was actually very easy for me. You just have to make sure you update your iOS app for Perplexity, or sorry, for the Claude app, and then make sure your desktop Claude app is updated as well. From there, there's a dispatch kind of menu item on each. So if you go into each, at the same time, it worked very well. Essentially, it can sync. It sees that you're accessing dispatch on the mobile app and on the desktop app, and then that was it. There's also an option for a QR code. I didn't have to go that far. It was actually pretty good for me. So this is why it's really cool. Essentially, this is, I think, maybe a better version of remote control. So when they rolled out remote control, Claude did, this was just for Claude Code, and it was just for command line. So if you're just using the desktop app, right, in Claude Code, you couldn't use the new remote control, right? But with Claude Dispatch, you can. But it's only for Cowork, Claude Cowork. So you still don't have true, mobile control of Claude Code on the desktop. I hope they bring that out soon. I'm not a big terminal person, not big on the CLI. So I like using the desktop app. I love the Claude desktop app. So there are some things that I would love to have Claude Code, but Claude Cowork is great. So if you haven't, if you don't know a lot about Claude Cowork, we did do an episode on it. Let me just go ahead and see exactly what episode that is, because I think it's great. So Claude Cowork, we did that. Yeah. Episode 696. So that was about 2 months ago, but Claude Cowork is essentially Claude Code for non-technical people. Cowork can control files on your computer. It can write, read, upload, right? If you give it access to, it can kind of do anything that a human sitting behind your computer could do. And, what I've been liking this for. So, as an example, I was, maybe this is TMI, right? But before sitting down to record, I noticed that there's a couple new updates that I didn't have in this very presentation. So I kind of have my notes over here. So I told, on Claude Dispatch, I said, hey, go look at my notes file on my computer, make sure that these 3 things are updated. And it went and did it. So it is kind of like you're calling someone that's sitting in front of your computer, but you're just using Dispatch to call or talk to Claude Cowork. So one huge bummer that I hope Anthropic fixes is it only obviously has access to Cowork. So there's some things, right? There's 3 very distinct panels when you're using the Claude desktop app. So it is chat, Cowork, and code. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't access anything in code. You can't access anything in chat. So, I hope in the future it just becomes universal. That would make it even more beneficial, especially for, people, I guess, like me, right? I use the 3, Claude Cowork, Claude Chat, and Claude Code, kind of equally. So I love being able to have this remote control capability. Really cool. It is one of those first, like, oh, this is the future of AI. Little buggy, little restricted, but really good still. All right, next one. A actually huge feature that was just a small footnote on OpenAI's help site. All right, so this is write actions for Microsoft and Google apps inside of ChatGPT. So this is big, but Another caveat. So many caveats this week, right? I wish we could just, regardless of your plan, you could just get all these things. So unfortunately, this is only for business users. So you do have to be business or enterprise to get this. But now you can finally write. All right. So, and you're like, okay, Jordan, what does this mean? So you have apps inside of ChatGPT. They used to be called connectors. They're not called connectors anymore. Everything is called an app. But you can essentially sync, certain Microsoft apps and Google apps, and ChatGPT can, dynamically find your files. So as they're updated, it's great. So if you're not using the apps by default, you should probably start doing that, but that's beside the point. But one big limitation in general is it's always been read only. Not anymore. All right. So here's the update straight from OpenAI. So they said we've updated scopes and actions in Google and Microsoft apps in ChatGPT to include support for write actions. You can now use apps like Microsoft Outlook email to draft emails for you, Google Docs and Sheets to create spreadsheets or docs, or set up meetings using the respective calendar apps. Write actions remain disabled by default until workspace admins enable them in the workspace settings for each app. For Microsoft apps, some customers may also need Microsoft Intra admin approval for updated scopes before users can connect successfully. So going from read to read write is actually big, right? This is one of those, I don't think anyone's talking about this, but it's important, right? Both for good reasons and bad reasons. This obviously greatly expands the capabilities of what you can do with ChatGPT if you have a business or an enterprise account. But also on the risk side, pretty big if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're trying to push something too far, or if someone on your team is, right? The ability to autonomously write, to, make changes to your calendar, emails, drive, things like that. Great upside for both what you can do and what could go wrong. All right, but pretty big update there. We have a lot more, but before we do, got to take a quick break. What am I sipping on today? Spindrift. All right, quick break for a word from our partners. Here's a harsh truth. Your company is probably spending thousands or millions of dollars on AI tools that are being massively underutilized. Half of companies have AI tools, but only 12% use them for business value. Most employees are still just using AI to summarize meeting notes. If you're the one responsible for AI adoption at your company, you need Section. Section is a platform that helps you manage AI transformation across your entire organization. It coaches employees on real use cases, tracks who's using AI for business impact, and shows you exactly where AI is and isn't creating value. The result? You go from rolling out tools to driving measurable AI value. Your employees move from meeting summaries to solving actual business problems. And you can prove the ROI. Stop guessing if your AI investment is working. Check out Section at sectionai.com. That's SECTION AI.com. All right, our next one. Google might have won vibe coding for 2027 right now. So if you jump on this, you can be ahead of the trend. Let me explain what I'm talking about, because Google just introduced some new, what they're calling vibe design features with Stitch. And if you have not used or heard of Stitch, my gosh, you're missing out. I think I said something on Twitter a couple of months ago. I'm like, if we didn't have ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot and Claude, like Stitch and these kind of things by themselves would be billion-dollar companies. It is so freaking good. So one of the biggest downsides right now with vibe coding in general, and let me just put this out there, everything is becoming vibe coding, right? You have the people at the actual software engineers at the big labs, they're just vibe coding as well. People who literally invented today's large language models, quote unquote, vibe coding. That's just the future, FYI. But one of the biggest downsides of vibe coding is, well, some of them aren't too good at front end design. They're kind of ugly, right? So as an example, I think codecs in the GPT-5.4 models, as good as they are, pretty bad at front end design. Claude, much better, pretty good. But I actually think Gemini 3.1 Pro is the best at front end design. But a lot of people, well, they're maybe using Claude Code or they're using Codex, right? Maybe a little more than Google's anti-gravity. So this is something you can start something in Stitch with this new Vibe design, and then kind of, take your project from there over into whatever coding tool of choice. So here's a little bit more from Google's announcement. So they said when vibe designing in Stitch, you can explore many ideas quickly, leading to a higher quality outcome. Instead of starting with a wireframe, you can start by explaining the business objective you're hoping to achieve, what you want your user to feel, or even examples of what's currently inspiring you. So they're introducing a complete redesign of the Stitch UI and now features a new AI native infinite canvas that gives your ideas room to grow from early ideations to working prototypes. The new Stitch Canvas is built to amplify your creativity through the design process, where you often diverge and converge before landing on something great. It also allows you to bring your ideas, regardless of the shape they take, images, text, or even code, directly to the canvas. Here's the cool thing, though, y'all. It's the new design agent. So the canvas's extensive context is also being paired with a brand new design agent that can reason across the project's evolution. And when you start to explore more directions, we're introducing the new agent manager. It tracks your progress and helps you work on multiple ideas in parallel, all while staying organized. And then they have a new design MD agent as well, which is really cool, which allows you to, import or export. So if you have a current existing project, this would have saved me so much time. All right. At some point, I'm probably going to do like a live networking vibe coding thing in our community. So, or actually, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I don't know if you guys would want it. So I don't know. If you're listening on the podcast, just leave a comment vibe. If you're listening here on the live stream, just say vibe. I always have a number. Sometimes we hit that number, sometimes we don't. All right. But this would be for non-technical people. Maybe if you just toyed around with vibe coding or you haven't, but you want to, maybe I'll do it. Cause I've been technically hours every single day for 2 or 3 months. I've gone through billions of tokens, learned a lot. Anyways, one thing that I had to do before this is I got a design system working in one of my apps that I built. I'm mainly working on 3 of them that I'm starting to use more than any other apps, right? They're really changing my day-to-day workflow. And I think they can change a lot of people's day-to-day workflows if I decide to, release them. But I got a design system working really well in one of them. And I had to really do a lot of copying and pasting and explaining across different agents to get the other apps to update to look like it. So if the new system here would have been out, 1 or 2 months ago, probably would have saved me many hours and tens of millions of tokens, right, between Codex and Claude Code. So pretty big update there from Google. All right, next. This is interactive charts. Oh, actually, I should probably tell you access for the last one, right? That would be helpful. So for the vibe designing, who has access? So it is free. So you have to have an account, right? But from there, it's free. So just FYI. All right, let's get into our next one, which is the new interactive charts and diagrams. So these new interactive elements inside Claude. So now users can create custom charts, diagrams, and visualizations in line in its responses, using HTML and SVGs, not just generated images, which is important because that means you can interact and they can kind of grow and learn with you. So right now this is in beta and it's available to everyone. So essentially you can there's no like button to enable this, but you can just say like, explain this or use an interactive chart to show. So to show me something or to explain something. So here's why it's useful. It kills one of the problems that I absolutely hate and I talk about all the time. It's the wall of text problem. All right. One thing large language models are both great at, which is terrible, is being verbose, right? Just going on and on and on. And it's like, yo, I just needed a couple bullet points. I'm just trying to explain something. You gave me a complete novel. I don't want this. That's why personally, for me, I love using Gemini Canvas. I use ChatGPT's Canvas. I use Claude Artifacts, right? The new Perplexity computer is great at just visualizing those long pieces of text. That helps me better understand. Same thing with Notebook LM. So I love this new feature from Claude that just kind of does it by default. So their kind of example here, I'll share it on my screen here. They said, what's a good major for someone who likes these things? Sketching, visiting old buildings, and solving 3D puzzles. Map out careers with that vibe. All right. So then through this, so I don't get a takedown notice, right? So at this point, then Claude literally starts building something interactive. So again, this isn't an image. If you've used Google's AI mode, it does have something very similar. So, you got to tip the cap to the Gemini team because they were actually first on this. And I do think their iteration is way better. Although maybe this will be used by more people because I don't know how many people are using AI mode for some of these interactive features in Gemini 3.1 Pro, which I think are great. But this is maybe a little will be used more by more people. So essentially what Claude does in this example is it starts mapping out, for the user that asks about these different careers, so it says, okay, design new spaces, arrow down to buildings, and then it's asking, what's your natural strength? Is it creative vision? Is it problem solving? Is it technical detail? Right. And then the user in this case can click on something else. And then it's going to keep building out new new flows. So the simplest way, you can either ideate, strategize with Claude, learn a topic, but do it in an interactive way versus just, walls of text or, even as much as I love, Notebook LM's infographics and slide decks, right? Sometimes to really learn a topic, it's better to be a little interactive, right? And have it respond to what you're absorbing or what you're not absorbing. So to each their own. Different use cases for different things, but regardless, don't sleep on this new feature. All right, our next one, Nemo Claw, right? Here we go. The Jensen Wong with the OpenClaw clause. All right, so yeah, I told you, we got a lot on the mobile side and the OpenClaw side because essentially, what we talked about earlier, Claude's new dispatch feature. That is kind of bringing, OpenClaw-esque capabilities to Claude. And so now we have the same thing with NVIDIA. So here's what NVIDIA announced. And we got to get in the weeds a little bit, okay? But I think it'll make sense. So essentially, NVIDIA announced Nemo Claw at GTC this week, and it's a security and privacy stack for the OpenClaw agent platforms that installs Nemotron models and the OpenShell sandbox runtime in a single command. So it has this open shell that enforces sandboxing, least privilege access controls, and policy-based guardrails so agents can't freely access or leak sensitive data. So anyone can technically use this, although you might have to do a hybrid approach if you're on a Mac. So I'm not going to get into this. You can do it on a Mac, but you can't do it truly locally on your machine, right? Because I think that's the main benefit of OpenClaw. And again, if you don't know OpenClaw, it is technically the most popular piece of open source software ever. It allows you to run autonomous agents directly on your machine using different models that you can connect. You can use, free open source models that you download on your hardware. And I think that's where maybe the future is headed, right? As GPUs come down in price and go up in capability. So what you can do if you have a Windows PC that has an NVIDIA GPU, or if you're, running GeForce RTX, a DGX station, DGX Spark, etc., then you don't have to do anything extra, right? Then it's just one command line and you can be off at the races, similarly like you can with OpenClaw. So there are ways that you can run it with a Mac, but you do have to then use the hybrid architecture. But if you do have a Windows PC that has an NVIDIA GPU, then this is definitely for you. And here's why it's useful. Well, I mean, OpenClaw's like rapid adoption has exposed some pretty serious security flaws, including that remote compromise risk. So, Nemo Claw from NVIDIA adds that missing enterprise security layer, right? Sandbox execution, network controls, and data isolation. Although the OpenClaw team is getting much better at shipping a lot of very serious security updates, more or less, Nemo Claw takes kind of the oops, I didn't mean to do that away from OpenClaw. It just puts in a lot of more enterprise network control and sandbox execution. So this is something that I think enterprise IT teams who want to start exploring with OpenClaw agents, they're going to love this right away. So maybe this isn't for, your average everyday person that's, dipping their toe in AI, unless you do have, a newer PC that has an NVIDIA GPU. And then at that point, there's maybe no big downside to at least learning the OpenClaw ecosystem by using Nemo Claw. It is much more secure out of the box that I think, a lot of people are going to enjoy. All right. We have, I think, just one more. All right. So rounding out our seventh one, this is one that, well, it's coming for your car. AI is coming for your car. So Google has reimagined maps with Gemini. So here's what is new. So Google launched Ask Maps this past week. It's a Gemini-powered conversational feature in Google Maps that can answer complex natural language questions about the places that are near you. Right. So it builds trip itineraries from 300 million places and personalizes results based on your map search history. So this is right now live in the US and India on Android and iOS. And the desktop versions are coming soon. So this is free to all Google Maps users. No subscription required. So that's nice. So this, I think, even though there's maybe not immediate business use cases, unless you do a lot of traveling for business, then I think it definitely will. You know what? I take that back because I probably will use this when I'm traveling. So that's a business use case, right? I try to really focus on these shows, things that you can immediately use in your business. So, right, I'm going to be, probably making a trip or two out to the West Coast over the next couple of months for some conferences that I'm covering with some cool brands that I'm excited to tell you guys about. But I might have some extra time and I might want to say, hey, what are some, places to hit up in San Francisco? Here's my criteria. And normally I would have to do a little bit of searching, or I might use, ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. But now you can just do that and have Google Maps plan out the entire thing based on, well, your personal intelligence as well. So this does kind of replace that multi-search, review sifting process, right? Which I do all the time. So you can do something like, ask for a cozy spot with a table for 4 at 7 tonight, or something like that, and get, curated options that you can book, save, or navigate to without leaving the conversation. So that's it. Those are our 7 big AI features. And let me just do a very quick recap in case you missed any. So number 1, Perplexity launched Comet AI Browser on iOS. Number 2, Anthropic released Claude Dispatch, right? Kind of their version of having access to an OpenClaw-like setup on the mobile phone, controlling your computer from your phone. Pretty cool. Number 3, small one. Now you have write actions for Microsoft and Google apps inside ChatGPT. Number 4, Google launched new Vibe design updates to Stitch. Loving them so far. Number 5, Claude had their new interactive elements in their chat. Number 6, bringing some security to OpenClaw with NVIDIA's new Nemo Claw. Great, especially if you have a PC with an NVIDIA chip. And then last but not least, bringing Gemini conversational maps and trip planning inside of Google Maps. All right. I hope this one was helpful. What do you all think? Are you liking this Friday features? If so, let me know. If not, well, let me know as well. I work for you. I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, make sure to go to our website, youreverydayai.com. There you can not only sign up for our free daily newsletter, but did you know you can go listen to and watch every single episode we've ever done, all sorted by category, all for free on our website. We could, in theory, just charge people for our website because I think it's one of the best sources of complete information on generative AI. It's sorted by category. Whatever you want to learn, it's there. So thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all. If you're leading AI at your company and your employees are barely scratching the surface of what AI can actually do, you need a better plan. Section coaches employees on real role-specific use cases, tracks adoption across your entire organization, and helps you prove the ROI to your CEO, your board, or whoever's asking. That's the job. Section helps you do it. Check out more on Section at sectionai.com.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.